Today, I'm joined by Chris Mawdsley, Head of Media Strategy at the BBC. From Manchester agencies in the late 90s to shaping how one of the most iconic broadcasters in the world shows up across channels, Chris has spent a career thinking about where media really makes a difference. In this episode, we will explore how data shapes planning when your audience is everyone, the rollout of home plays in building both scale and talkability, and how the BBC prepares to move fast on cultural moments and taps into the national conversation. Welcome, Chris. Hello.
Hiya.
Are you all right? Great to have a fellow Mancon here. So, yeah, don't worry. For the audience, we won't talk about all things Manchester. We've done that already. We always start these podcasts with just asking our guests, just explain how you actually ended up of in this particular role and of your life journey, let's say.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not at all.
I basically, in the late 90s, as I guess many graduates do, were looking for a career to get into, and I fell into media. Mm-hmm. It's always been media for me rather than kind of general marketing roles. Mm-hmm. So I've worked at agencies like McCann Erickson in Manchester, mm-hmm. Various stints at Dentsu, mm-hmm. and then in 2011, when the BBC opened Media City in mm-hmm. the north, I got the job there working in the internal media planning department.
Okay.
And it was different to what I was doing at the time, because I went to the BBC and it was all about TV. Mm-hmm. We had an inventory that was to die for. Mm-hmm. We had the ability to reach every single audience member from 2 to 99.
Yeah.
And we didn't actually spend a lot of money and it was very TV centric. Mm-hmm. And then that became more of an issue when audience behaviours changed. And because of that, obviously the role has changed with it. And obviously now we need to be much more multi-channel, much more aware of audience behaviours and make sure that we are kind of putting our efforts into all the right places mm-hmm. to deliver what we need to deliver for all audiences.
Right. Okay. And that's, as you say, the environment has really changed. And for the BBC as well. I mean, the BBC's been impacted as well as everyone else. I mean, some would argue maybe more, and we've got in the current environment now, renewal of the Royal Charter and everything that's coming up. Maybe can you just for the audience sake, just go through the challenges and the opportunities that the BBC faces at the moment?
I think the challenges that we've got are probably out there for all to see. You reference kind of conversations around funding, Royal Charters. They're kind of ongoing. Yeah. So we're navigating those at the moment, trying to work out kind mm-hmm. of where we're getting with a licence fee. We've got challenges from competitors with really big pockets and big budgets to spend, and they've got a content which is obviously really relevant to mm-hmm. young audiences. So that's an ongoing challenge. Like any business, it's kind mm-hmm. of we are aware of these. I think what we have got in our favour is we've got a really good product with amazing heritage, and we've still got unbelievable reach. So we've got an organisation that reaches 80% of all audiences on a weekly basis, which is millions and millions and millions. We can still do big show-stopping events. The Winter Olympics has done really well. We've got great content moments like the Traitors, Apprentice. So there's lots of positives mm-hmm. that we take into our kind of our day-to-day, but we're also aware of the challenges that we face. And that's what we need to just kind of be realistic about how we approach them. Yeah. Be very conscientious of making sure that we put the audience at the heart of everything we do, which is on our badges. And that's what we do on a day-to-day basis. We just make sure that we try to do everything we can to make sure that the organisation is universal and everyone gets value for the licence fees.
You had a great line, actually, which was, the BBC needs to talk to everyone about everything all of the time. I mean, from your standpoint, what challenges does that bring up in terms of when you're looking at the media planning side?
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenges are probably there for all to see. I mean, I think every brand and every advertiser segments. Yep. They have got a desire to reach some audiences more than others. Mm-hmm. We we genuinely have to try and appeal to absolutely everybody, because everybody pays a license fee. So we can't just go for high net worth customers, or we can't segment in that way. So it presents a challenge from a resource point of view, in terms of kind of ensuring that those that don't get enough from the BBC do get enough from the BBC, and that's the big majority of what we're trying to do. We're trying to talk to audiences who don't come to us for 2 to 3 hours a day, or even 2 to 3 hours a week. Tell them about all the great content that we've got for them, and try and convert them into, I guess, a loyal customer, or a more loyal customer base. And it's a challenge, as we've talked about in the past. But again, like I say, we've got the right content, I think, to talk to those audiences with. We've got some amazing kind of products and services. So the news, sport, weather, these are all kind of high value sites that people regularly use. And obviously kind of iPlayer and Sound's are great kind of audio and video platforms as well. So we've got it. We've got the stuff. We just need to kind of make sure that we're talking to audiences about the most relevant things that are for them. Yeah.
So just and as you say, it's quite a fine balancing act.
Yeah.
Because as you say, you've got to appeal to those who, heavy users.
Yeah.
You naturally appeal, but obviously as well, because everyone's paying the license fee.
Absolutely.
The long tail, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's certain audiences that we know just get unbelievable value from the BBC. So certain people over the age of 75 will get hours and hours and hours of entertainment for the license fee, and others just simply won't.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to manage, and that's what we're trying to kind of negotiate to try and even that balance out a little bit more.
And when you're looking at that from a media planning side, I mean, it'd be quite interesting to see sort of where the various medias fits in, and particularly with out of home, sort of how do you use those media to actually execute on your aims?
Yeah, I think one of our big challenges, especially with younger audiences, is just getting on their radar, and that's really tricky, given we all know kind of we're in an attention deficit world, aren't we? And you've got 0.1 seconds to sell, or else you're in trouble. And one of the things, when I talked previously about kind of the joys of the BBC when I joined in 2011, was the ability to use TV to engage all audiences. We had literally hundreds of thousands of TVRs that worked with all audiences. Now we've got to reach younger audiences off platform more extensively, and out of home is going to be a key channel for that. It's key because we know that that's a channel that's indexes well for that audience. They spend a lot of time out and about. And it gives us the ability to have that visibility and get on that radar, because you can't kind of swipe an out of home ad. You've got all the kind of the benefits of impact. Obviously, you can make them more highly targeted than ever before. So there's lots of advantages to it as a kind of a high impact broadcast medium that we look to utilise on as many campaigns as we can afford, really.
And that's that's an interesting point, because there's also as well, and again I think we talked about this, the need to be reactive. You need to jump in to conversations that are happening. And then obviously in terms of jumping that in order to get your message across, there'll be different medias, presumably different medias at different times that perform different roles and have different advantages.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we find that we can drive much more relevance if we're really into the zeitgeist.
Right.
And we really understand what audiences are talking about. And we do all the things that all kind of modern marketing teams do in terms of creators and influencers, and trying to get that cut through with audiences that largely don't want to hear from you, let's be honest. So you're trying to talk to audiences that don't want to hear from you on a platform that they're kind of going like that with. It's a challenge. So the way we look at it is, if we can make it as relevant as we possibly can and as timely, then that really cuts through. So we've done some quite interesting work on things like the Traitors, for example. So again, with out of home in mind, we knew that there was going to be a kind of chatter online, and we knew that the best way in which we could kind of cut through on that was to react to that chatter. So we set up, we do social listening anyway, but we specifically set up really kind of intense social listening to understand what people were talking about on the last series of what we call civilian traitors, not celebrity traitors. And we thought that there was a lady on there who was doing a fake Welsh accent.
Yeah.
And we thought everyone's going to be reacting to her, everyone's going to be talking about her. And we did the listening, and it was actually, everyone was talking about Linda, who was one of the other contestants, who, let's just say her kind of traitor skills of acting were not too strong, and it was, people were like, in a nice way, kind of chatting about it and talking about it. So we said, let's react to that. So it was the Oscars time, so we thought we'll do something with that. But what we had done is we'd planned that. That was all planned. We call it planned reactivity. Yeah. We knew that there was going to be things that we're talking about, so we were set up to react to that. So when we realised it was Linda, we then booked a 48 sheet, and we got Linda on a poster. Yeah. Unfortunately, she came down and she got an award for kind of an Oscar for Best Actress. And that did really well from a kind of a talkability, and it just kind of became a bit of a social phenomenon. Lots of people were sharing it, and Out of Home allowed it to be elevated, because it was kind of, it was there and it was real, and people kind of hooked into it. So, and we do that a lot. We try and understand what people are talking about and use social as well, but we also kind of, where we can, use Out of Home to react. And we did the same with Alan Carr in the previous series. People loved the fact that he was kind of had his cloak on and he was a bit of devious, and we put that on a poster as well. So we're trying to be kind of up in our game in terms of working in that way.
Now, I actually want to pick up on a recent sort of article that you wrote. You had a very, very interesting phrase there that was talked about the purity of Out of Home, particularly for tapping into the national consciousness. Yeah, could you talk a bit about that? Yeah, it's a great phrase, the purity of Out of Home, but could you talk a little bit about sort of what you mean?
I think, again, we've been in this game a long time, haven't we? Yeah. I think from my point of view, we just know about ad avoidance, and we know about kind of other formats are very like low in terms of attention. And I think most people who I know in media and media planning love Out of Home because of that purity point. And when I say that, I mean, it's the fact that you can't switch it off. It's the fact that everybody's seeing it kind of all at the same time. Yeah. And it just feels like it's a medium that if you do it well and you plan it well, you can probably reach people that you can't on other platforms. Yeah. Because you haven't got that inherent kind of ad avoidance. Yeah. And I think that's really important for somebody like ourselves, because our relationship with audiences is mixed. Yeah. A lot of audiences don't want to hear from us, and if they see it's the BBC, they'll just switch off. But you can't turn off a poster. Yeah. And you're going down a road and you'll see it and I'll see it, and then a 14-year-old see it, and then a 85-year-old see it. You're all seeing the same thing. Yeah. And there's not many other channels that do that. Yeah. And it's also as well, I mean, you have this, and maybe more relevant for the BBC than other organisations, balancing, as it were, the national campaigns, but also the local ones. I mean, how do you find that in terms of the different uses of media, depending on the... Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know, and I think probably it's no great shakes for anybody that the kind of the local and national relevance of anything kind of really resonates. So if we've got a drama that's set in Liverpool, more people in Liverpool will watch it. Yeah. And we tap into that, and you can see by all the viewing figures that just happens. So we often tap into that. We'll upweight content in the right areas. We know, for example, that football in Scotland does unbelievably well. Yeah. We get kind of 50% share. Can't believe I'm talking about share. It sounds a bit old school. It's all right. But and these are great moments for the BBC because we're hosting international football. So we try and tap into that and make sure that we're making sure that we're getting right under the skin of those audiences in those areas. And I think it works. We've also recently, you may have seen it, started a brand campaign called Made Of Here. Right. And that's very much about trying to do the similar thing, but about the BBC. Yeah. Okay. So we've got campaigns. We've run campaigns in various cities so far. The last one was Glasgow. We've got one kind of coming up in Belfast. And the idea is that we do so many things for nations and so many things for different parts of the UK in terms of production budgets, in terms of filming, etc. And we maybe don't get the credit for it. So these campaigns are trying to make sure that as an organisation we're seen to be kind of part of the nations and regions.
Yeah. Oh, that all makes sense. I mean, as we move forwards, obviously we've got a changing media landscape. We've got a changing BBC, but we don't know sort of how much things will change. But obviously, there is sort of the reviews going on at the moment. From your standpoint, when you're sitting within media planning, what are the thoughts that are going through your head? What are you thinking about? How are you trying to anticipate how things are and what that means for how you plan your media?
First is kind of get people to like us a little bit more, aka kind of a shortcut to a brand job. The second pillar is very much there is an audience that we think that should consume us more, but they don't.
Yep.
And again, sounds like a bit of a basic, but let's get them consuming more content. And then the third is migrating some of the older audiences to more digital platforms. So we've got three kind of guiding lights, which are kind of fundamental to what we're trying to achieve, and everything kind of drops out from those. So kind of we've got big content moments, which everyone is aware of, which obviously resonate well. I think we've got a campaign for Race Across the World landing in a couple of weeks, new series that showed us really, really well. And we've got all these kind of these tentpole moments for that. We've got lots of good brand work, which is continuing. And then you kind of layer on all the other products and services, like I mentioned, like sounds and news and sport, and just trying to make sure that everyone is kind of aware of what they can get from those as well. So it's that universal job again, which we're trying to kind of get across the line. And it's really about prioritisation. As I think I mentioned, kind of we've got the same challenges that every kind of marketer and media has. It's budgets and who to talk to. And our resource, like anybody else, is finite. So that's the challenge ahead, really.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Which again makes perfect sense. Now, also as well, sort of interested in how you use first-party data to influence sort of your choices around media planning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can imagine, we have got a lot of interactions that we can, daily interactions. I think someone's quoted me, we get 59 kind of million a day across everything that we do. So there's a lot to go at in terms of first party data. So we can do like kind of loads with it. What we do is we use it on lots of platforms to ensure that the money we are spending is reaching those that don't have a good relationship with us. So we obviously don't want to talk to somebody who has got a high frequency of iPlayer or spend lots of times on sound. So we use that information to understand where audiences are in the UK, to understand what platforms they are on. We use obviously emails to kind of dedupe and make sure that so all the stuff that kind of digital marketers kind of do on a daily basis, we do that as well. And obviously kind of when it comes to out of home, we know where our lighter audiences are, and that allows us to look at things from like a postcode segment data point of view as well. So the whole point of what we're trying to do is to try and reach audiences who aren't going to come to us. And first party data allows a good base of that in everything that we do.
And presumably will only become more important over time.
Absolutely. And it's something that we are using also on our own inventory as well. So we're trying to become more sophisticated in that space as well. Kind of a lot of the kind of the personalization stuff that we've wanted to do for a long time, but it's been hard because the way the BBC has grown technically has been quite organic. So all the platforms are different, that all the products are hosted on and all that, and that's taken a time to kind of bring all that together. But now we're in a much better space than they were, and people within my team are kind of really on that now and trying to make sure that first party data flows through all of our owned inventory, but also through our paid as well.
That's great. we normally end these podcasts. We ask our guests, what advice would you give to marketers and anyone who's listening, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've always been good at. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I obviously am.
Why not?
I think it's about just making sure that you're doing it for the audience.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important thing, because I think people can lose sight of that in the kind of the cut and thrust of a day's work. And I'm always really clear, kind of like, we need to do this, and it's for these people, and we need to do it in this way. And I think we are good at that. And one of the good things about the BBC is we are audience first.
Yeah.
And that's my advice to anybody, whether you're trying to kind of sell any product. You've just got to understand who you're talking to, where they are, and make sure that that's front and centre of everything that you do.
Chris, that's been great. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chris, for a brilliant conversation around how the BBC uses media, culture, and out of home to keep people talking. If there's anything you would like to ask us or hear more about, you can visit the JCDecaux Marketing Hub online. We hope you enjoyed listening. And wherever you get your podcasts, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.